Hello, Alta Labs fans. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're hailing from. We appreciate you taking the time to join us on our fourth Alta Labs live event, our all event here. This is a live stream event, and we'd like to extend a special welcome to our special guest, Chris Buechler, who is our principal architect here at Alta Labs. And then myself and Jeff are obviously happy to be your host here on our Alta Labs Live. As a reminder, we do these about once a month. And if you are not receiving notifications on those regularly, we'd love to have you come join our newsletter where we try to give you about a month's notice on when our next Alta Labs Live will be scheduled. A couple of housekeeping items. There will be a live Q&A here at the very end of our session. We do encourage those all to be submitted through whatever platform you are tuning in on. So whether that's Facebook, LinkedIn, any of the Meta platforms, even X. If you submit those through those platforms, it'll feed right into our messaging center here, and we'll try and get to every single question that gets asked. So you're welcome to submit those now, but we will be answering those questions generally near the end of our session. We also have a couple of announcements we'd like to share with everybody, and then I'll introduce today's agenda. First of all, we wanted to draw your attention to some statements that we have made most recently. If you're paying attention to the news in the networking world, there have been a number of statements, news releases, articles about some of our competitors, some of other manufacturers, and their potential security vulnerabilities or security flaws. And so we have published a statement on that, and we have also launched our brand new trust site. We'd love to have you go check that out at alta.inc/trust. And we will also, here in the comments, if Landon or Rob, if you wouldn't mind throwing a link to the letter up, that would also be great. We'd love to have you go check that out, both the letter and the trust site. If there's any information there that you feel is missing or that's important to you that's not there, please let us know in our forum, our community forum, and we will try and adjust the trust site and update it to get that additional information to you. We also, in the month of January, if you're following us on social media and our newsletter, you will know that we have started our Installer of the Month program. That is tied into our Alta Summit program. So if you are a business installing Alta Labs products and are participating in our Summit program, you are eligible to receive the Installer of the Month award from us. Generally, we are looking for those individuals that stand out amongst the crowd, are big supporters of us, both in selling our hardware, participating in our community, our forums, or sharing stories. And we're happy to announce that Barry from Bluegrass Audio and Security out of Bowling Green, Kentucky, is our first recipient of 2025. So pay attention to our social media and newsletter. We'll be announcing February and so on through those various outlets. And we'd love to have you come and participate in that. And then finally, a plug for our stories in our forum. If you go over to forum.alta.inc and check out the stories section there, you'll see some wonderful projects that are going on using Alta Labs gear, but we always want more of those. And for the month of January, if you submit your story in the online community story section there, with at least 3 good pictures, then our team will pick our 5 most favorite, and then we will leave it up to the community to then choose the winner. And whoever is the community's top or most favorite story, you receive some free Alta gear. So we'd love to have you be there and love to have you submit any of your projects and your stories, even if it's in your own home lab or even if it's in your own offices. We'd love to see it, and it's totally eligible to win. So that's it with the announcements and housekeeping. We will move on to our agenda. If you guys are watching our newsletter as well as our social media, you know today we'll be talking about Route10, specifically about the updates when it comes to our features that we have deployed, as well as the features that are still coming. Jeff will be taking on the features that we have deployed up until now, and then Chris will be talking about what is still yet to come. And then for those of you who have been anxiously awaiting to hear about what else Alta Labs has been up to and will be releasing this year, we'll be sharing some of our product roadmap with you today. And then we will generally, at the end, open it up for question and answer. So thank you again for taking the time to be with us. If you do get cut off or you get dropped, last time Meta had an outage, not to worry. We are recording this and we'll post it on all of our various social media outlets. But for now, don't forget to put your questions in the comment section or whatever platform you're in, and we'll get to those here at the end of our Alta Labs Live. So without further ado, Jeff, if you want to take it away, talk about Route10.
Sure. Yeah. Excited to be here. So excited for our community. Thank you, everybody out there, to our Alta Labs supporters. We love working with you and love developing our products for you and for your users. So I'm going to mostly focus on the last features that we've recently release. So this would include the IDS IPS as well as our WireGuard server. And I mean, our WireGuard server, it's connected in a way that you can actually, one thing that sets Alta Labs apart specifically with our WireGuard server is the way that authentication works. And so you actually, when we had the IPSec server with L2TP and IPv2 support, and you could use, username and password with that, which integrates with the built-in Radius server. Well, now you can actually add WireGuard credentials to existing users. And that's unique because it allows you to, if you add a new employee or user or something like that, you can tie their credentials to the various VPNs that are available on the Route10. You can give them new credentials. And then, if they leave or something like that, you can actually drop them, and it's tied to that entire user. So there's not a bunch of different profiles for WireGuard users. It's actually tied to, preferably, an actual person. So that's really cool. And then the other thing is it's very granular. So our WireGuard configuration, you can actually go in and edit the configuration directly. So if you want to like migrate from some other WireGuard server or something like that, you can actually use the same keys that you were using on a previous installation, and you can bring them to Route10 so that your users don't necessarily have to change anything. So we wanted to make it super easy to migrate to our WireGuard VPN server solution. And so those are some of the ways that we've tried to do that. Moving on to our IDS and IPS solution. So I wanted to do a little demo, and this is a live demo, so anything can happen, but I'm going to share my screen here. So as many of you may already know, we use Suricata for our IDS IPS solution, which is an open source package under the GPL license, and very capable system with a lot of rules. We use the emerging threats rule set, so the open source rule set to protect your networks. So this detects not only devices that may be reaching into your WAN, right? So there's scanners out there and bad actors who are always scanning IP addresses on the internet, trying to find vulnerable web servers, whether that be PHP or Apache servers or Nginx, or, I mean, there's a lot of issues out there that people are probing for, right? And so this will detect threats like that. So from those scanners that are trying to find those open holes into your network, it also detects threats on your internal network. So let's say you have a botnet on one of your devices on your network. Those have certain signatures, right, that they're reaching out to reach the botnet, other members of the botnet, and this will actually detect that and alert you. So you can receive notifications. You can also actually block that traffic automatically, and we have different threat levels. So low threat level would mean something that's probably innocuous, not really important to look at, but it might be informational for you, right? If you're really trying to tighten things down. Medium is obviously higher priority stuff, and then high level stuff would probably be something you want to look into and investigate a little bit more. So I'm going to go show this demo. So we've talked about it when we launched Route10, right? We said that we were going to be able to do 10 gigabits with IDS IPS on. And so now I'm going to show you live here that actually working. So I have a Route10 here, and I have it connected to a small network. I have my 10 gig ports, my LAN 4 and WAN 2 connected at 10 gigabits per second. And then I have IDS IPS enabled. So you enable that in your, let's see, firewall intrusion prevention settings. So this is where you actually turn it on. Okay, so I've had it enabled for a while. I have my notifications enabled. I have the level set to medium, and you can actually choose which VLANs it monitors, right? So we're going to go to the network tab. So this is running right now. I have a couple of servers that are 10 gig capable. I'm going to start an iPerf between them. So there that goes. And of course, we're getting slow speeds. So we'll see if this ramps up. I'll have to do a follow-on video. I did test this right before the meeting. Oh, there we go.
The curse of the live demo.
Curse of the live demo. So, I mean, you can see it was doing 10 gigabits per second before. And this is pretty typical of these servers, the rates that they'll get. It'll bounce around a little bit here between 5 and 6, but typically it's 8 or 9 gigabits per second. So while this is running, you can see on our dashboard that we're pushing up against 10 gigabits per second here on both of these ports. And I'm going to fire off an HTTP request to badguys.com and we'll see that we get that notification live. So it's right here. You can see here that it's this is the alert. It's a medium level alert GPL attack response. And then the cool thing about our solution too, so you can see that it detected it during that, in this specific instance, 7.8 gigabits stream of data. But the other thing that's cool about our solution is you can ignore that specific threat. So if you want to, maybe that threat isn't very important to you, or you've looked into it and it's actually not a problem, you can actually ignore that moving forward and then go ahead and delete it. So yeah, I mean, these are the main two features that we've worked really hard on lately. And then we want to give the opportunity to talk about some of the features that are coming up soon. And we wanted to give Chris the opportunity to talk about those.
Thanks, Jeff. Chris, what do you got for us, bud?
Do you have a slide, Jeff, or?
Yeah, we have.
Or am I just going by the?
It's on the, the outline. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So glad to be here. Thanks for joining us. Talking about what is coming in the near future for Route10. One of the almost immediate future things with multi-WAN, including load balancing. So multiple WANs are supported now, but without the fully proper monitoring, and only monitors whether or not the gateway is reachable and would fail over that way. With these changes, you'll have full proper WAN monitoring, including out to the internet, to make sure that there is connectivity all the way through the internet on each connection, and if there isn't, it'll take it out of service, and you can use the other connection automatically. And then the load balancing will also be a part of that. If you set the metric on both of your WANs to the same thing, then it will load balancing between the two. Another thing coming soon is static route support. The firmware piece is already there, the controller piece coming soon. And dynamic routing is probably something coming a little bit later this year, but static routes is on our immediate future list of things that we're working on. Also going to add support for WireGuard as a client. So you could use that for site-to-site connectivity potentially, or to connect to a VPN service provider if you need to send your traffic out via different geolocation, or you want to use that for anonymity purposes or something along those lines, that will be supported as well. And we're adding IPv2 and hopefully V1 as well, and all at the same time, site-to-site IPSec connectivity. And also looking at adding IPv2 client support, also potentially for connecting to VPN providers, but you could use that for site-to-site purposes as well. And those are the four main things that are coming in the near future in this year. We'll have a whole lot more to come later in 2025. Really excited about what we've got going and in the works and up to come.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, and I just want to touch on a couple of the things with our WireGuard client and IPv2 client. We're looking into actually enabling hardware acceleration on our IPSec VPN server and client, so that you can get full line rate speeds through that as well. The WireGuard VPN server and client is obviously very fast already, but yeah, being able to control that in a scalable way to be able to do site to site to many different sites is going to be a key focus of our strategy this year as well, so that you can bridge all of your various networks from all over the place together and have connectivity between all of them, and control them with static routing and use the firewall rules and all that. So yeah, a lot of things to come as far as site-to-site VPN capabilities.
Great. Exciting to be working with Alta Labs. Thank you, Chris and Jeff, both of you, for the updates on Route 10. As a reminder, please be putting your questions, comments in your various feeds from your various platforms. We're seeing those come in nicely, and we've got a bunch of questions that we'll get to here near the very end. We want to go ahead and share our product roadmap, at least for the first half of this year. I know a lot of you guys are very excited about that and what that's coming. If you're active participants in our community forum, you've gotten some really good hints about what's coming. The first thing I want to talk about, and if it's okay, Jeff and Chris, I'll take the first couple, and then Jeff, if you want to take the Wi-Fi 7 AP that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So first of all, we showed this at a trade show at the end of last year as a rack mount accessory for Route 10 S8 PoE, as well as our on-prem controller. That is still very much a work in process. What we learned as we went to go manufacture that, the first couple of variations, is we weren't very happy with the quality and the chance of certain things breaking during installation. So we went back to the drawing board a little bit with our engineering team, mechanical engineering team, and made some changes that allows the rack mount accessory to be very, very sturdy. It can be uninstalled, reinstalled over and over again, and is something we've been pretty happy with. So again, that's a rack mount accessory for Route 10 S8 PoE and control. It'll actually feature two bays that you can mix and match. So you can do two Route 10s for like high availability deployment down the road, or you can do an S8 PoE with our Route 10 or our controller in Route 10, or you can just blank off the one side and you'll have a nice rack mount accessory for our Route 10. So be watching for that here in the next couple of months. And then everything else we're going to share with you here is all on target to be out before the middle of this year. Some will be earlier, like early Q2, and then others will be in later Q2 and beyond. But as far as sharing hard and fast dates, if any of you are familiar with manufacturing, dates always tend to slip, both the ebb and flow. We don't want anybody getting super upset the fact that we miss a date by a week or two, so we won't share any hard dates. But no, that's the general target for the release of all these products. Also, we're not sharing any images just yet. As you know, in manufacturing, there's always some last minute changes on color or sizing or port alignment or whatever it may be. But just know that that's all forthcoming, and we'll make sure that everyone knows about it right before they launch, so you guys can get your pre-orders in. The next product right behind our rack mount accessory that'll be out probably very first of the next products that we're talking about is an on-wall Wi-Fi 6 access point. So it's an on-wall form factor that can be mounted to any single gain box, generally speaking. We've tried to size that for any low voltage or high voltage junction boxes, both with an EU or European footprint as well as a USA footprint. And you don't need to use a junction box. You can mount it right to a wall if you choose. But that will have again, it's Wi-Fi 6. It'll be 2x2 on both bands. It'll be PoE plus powered. And then you can actually use that PoE plus power and pass through PoE. So if you have like an IP phone or a IP camera that you'd like to power behind that AP, that'll certainly support that. It'll be one port on the back on the wall plate, and then there'll be two additional ports on the bottom. We will also be featuring an optional external power supply. So if you need to power that, not via PoE, you will be able to do that. Anything, Jeff or Chris, you want to add on the on-wall AP before we move to the next product? Anything I missed?
It does allow power, whether you want to use the back port from the RJ45 on the back, or you can power it through the bottom port as well, which is unique. You can also power it using, well, actually, it's our first product that has a DC jack. So in certain situations, it might be good to have like a mesh node that's just sitting out on a table or something like that. And so having a DC power adapter for that is most convenient.
Love it. Wonderful. Thanks for the addition there, Jeff. Next on the horizon, I know there's been a lot of requests, a lot of anxious customers for a 48 port switch, and we're happy to announce that will be coming for sure in 2025. And so that will also be our first switch that'll have full PoE, all ports PoE plus enabled. That will have over a 700 watt PoE power supply budget. And then we'll also have 16 ports of 2.5 gigabits per second. And that will be identified in the soak screen that we do on the outside of the switch. That switch will also feature 4 SFP plus cages. So you'll be able to obviously use that as a little bit of an aggregation switch, or you'll be able to obviously loop those together for a higher connection speed up into like a true aggregation switch. We're really excited about the 48 port switch, not only because of the capacity and the 2.5 gig ports that opens us up for multi-gig as we continue to develop our product line, but it'll also feature Bluetooth for onboarding like the rest of our products, and it'll also be able to be both rack mountable as well as wall mountable, just like our S16 or S24. So if you like our rack mount solution there, you will for sure love our 48 port rack mount solution. So again, Jeff or Chris, any addition on the 48 port switch that I've missed there?
No, excited to bring it out. Yeah, really looking forward to it.
Fantastic. One thing I will mention just popped in my mind is it is going to be based on the same chipset architecture as our S16 and S24. So it'll be a Realtek chipset.
Yep.
And then we are also happy to announce that we will be producing an aggregation switch. So it'll be a 12-port SFP plus switch. So each one of the 12 ports will be an SFP cage that you can populate with your preferred SFP modules of choice. That is actually in a 1U form factor and a half width form factor as well. So what that means is you can take 2 of these and place them side by side with what will be our included rack mount accessory that you can also use to mount to the wall should you choose. And you can use that again for like a high availability deployment or just pure capacity. It'll also be built on a Realtek chipset platform, just like the 48 port switch. And it will also feature Bluetooth for simple onboarding and adoption inside of our mobile app. And I think that covers that one pretty well, but I'm going to check with the brain trust here. Jeff, Chris, anything else on that one?
Yeah, nothing else really. I mean, it really just unlocks the door to doing a full stack at a scalable level, right? We're talking like hospitals, malls, transportation hubs, places that really need a lot of power, a lot of access points, and a lot of bandwidth pushing through the network. This is kind of one of those missing links that we've had for a while. So we're really, really excited to bring these out to the market.
Agreed. Well, Jeff, if you want to continue on with Wi-Fi 7 AP.
Yeah, so our Wi-Fi 7 AP we've been looking at for quite a while. I don't know if anybody else has had the same experiences we've had or heard, but Wi-Fi 7, it's a really exciting technology, but there's been some road bumps for sure. And so we didn't want to release a Wi-Fi 7 AP until we knew that it was as capable and reliable and stable as the APs that you've come to know and love from Alta Labs. Some of the key features of our Wi-Fi 7 AP will be a single 10 gigabit RJ45 port. We're actually working with a new chipset from Qualcomm for that. And what's really cool about their new chipset is its power savings. And so it allows us to get into, a lot of technologies and a lot of newer gear requires higher power, but that, it leaves a big footprint, right? And it means that you can't put as many devices onto your switches. This AP uses a brand new chipset that's, is comparable power to like 1 gig, 2.5 gig, but it gives you that 10 gig speed. It will be tri-band, so 6 gigahertz will have 2x2, and then 2 gigahertz will have a 2x2 antenna, and then the 5 gigahertz will actually have a 4x4, which brings you the range and performance that you're used to on 5 gigahertz with our AP6 Pro. So we're really excited to do Wi-Fi 7 AP and move into the 6 gigahertz spectrum finally.
Very exciting. Very, very exciting. We know there's a lot of demand for Wi-Fi 7, and generally what we're seeing in the market, just as kind of a perception or the standpoint from Alta Labs, right, is there's still, believe it or not, a lot of international countries that have not unlocked or allowed 6 gigahertz to be available, right? Either their government or military, or even some of their cell phone providers are using that for their own network needs, right? So we've been a little slower to adopt and deploy Wi-Fi 7 based on that. We also have recently come to the understanding from some various hardware manufacturers that of all the devices, both cell phones, laptops, PCs, that are Wi-Fi capable in the last 12 months that were developed, only about 20% of those actually support Wi-Fi 7. Plus, then there's some noise in the industry about how disruptive 6 gigahertz can be. So in true Alta Labs fashion, rather than rush something out, we wanted to have all available data possible and get something out that's very, very tried and true, and something that you guys will be happy to use and be very impressed with its performance. So, and again, that's just our product roadmap for the first half of this year. So we will potentially share second half of the year and into 2026 as we get closer to those timeframes. But we're seeing some great questions come in on all of the products that we've talked about, as well as some of the features on Route 10. So we'll go ahead and loop back to those. And again, if you would like your question to be answered, please submit that through whatever forum or platform that you're on, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you're logged directly into StreamYard or even X, we'll be able to pull those up here and get those answered. So without any further ado, Chris and Jeff, you guys okay if we move on to question and answer?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. All right, let me scroll all the way back up to the top here. Grab the ones that I've been flagging. All right, first question looks like it applies to Route 10. Can you explain what the high, medium, and low are or do inside of the IDS IPS, I'm assuming, in Route 10?
Yeah, do you want to take that, Chris?
Sure. So those are general classifications that are on the GPL emerging threats rule set, where they categorize them according to what the probable risk level of it is. So low is often something that's just informational and probably isn't malicious. High are things that are a very high risk sign that something is compromised or wrong, and then the medium is in between there, and it's kind of contextually dependent. So in some cases it could be informational, in some cases it could actually be an indicator for compromise. So that's
yeah, and I want to add, so the cool thing is I think there's about 50,000 or more threats, and they're monitored by the community. They're updated daily, and then the Route 10 itself monitors that list and updates its built-in list daily as well. So you can rest assured that if something malicious is going on, you will be notified. So there's the notification in the user interface. There's also a notification that you can send via email. So both ways.
Wonderful. Thanks, you too. And thank you, Eric, for the question. Next question comes from Reginald Chan. Any updates on Multi-WAN IPS Setup?
I think that's probably referring to multiple WAN IPs.
Yes.
Gotta be.
That's something that will definitely get added in the first quarter of this year.
Yeah, it's definitely something we need to use it ourselves, especially. So that definitely brings the priority level up just internally, right? It's something that we see important, being able to map IPs to internal services directly. Definitely want to bring that out soon.
Fantastic. Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks, Reginald, for that. Next question from user DN. It was mentioned before that in one of the videos, IRC, that products will have access to cloud management for the life of the products. What is that exactly? 2 years, 5 years, et cetera? Can you commit to a minimum time? I think our general consensus there, right, is as long as the Alta Labs products are alive, they'll be able to connect to our management platform. So really, there's not any limit to, like, if there's a license that's expiring, if that's what you're looking for, user DN. As we've mentioned in the past, we do have some premium features that we will hopefully be rolling out later this year that are quite a bit more intensive on our architecture. That will be an optional upcharge, right? Not anything you'd have to pay for. But that is, again, to be very clear, anything that's inside of our management platform today and the features that we've been talking about thus far will all be included for the life of Alta Labs products. So,
yeah, I also want to mention, I mean, the way that our cloud has been developed is all about a lightweight cloud that allows as many devices as possible to connect for as low cost on the cloud side as possible. At least that's how it was architected. And if you look at how the protocols and everything were designed, there's a lot of communication that actually happens between your application, whether that be the web app or the mobile app, and your device directly through the MQTT broker. And so that allows us to offer our cloud services indefinitely for as little as possible.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jeff. And thanks, user DN, for the question. This user is coming from YouTube, Final Fantasy. Love the avatar there. That looks great. Are you working on being able to see the firmware version and possibly updating it via the phone app?
Yeah, I believe that's already available, at least in the iOS app. I'd have to double check on the Android, but yeah, definitely. If it hasn't been developed, it's definitely on the list of things to do. But I can check in and double check. I'll write that down just to see and check the progress of that, because yeah, definitely need that.
For sure. And I would say user final frostasy. Let's maybe just make sure on the latest version. I know that I've seen the ability to update in the mobile app, and I'm pretty sure the version's in there. You may have to click into the actual appliance, right, where there's an access point or the switch to see the version, but we'll take that as a takeaway as well. Let's see. Next question from user Jeremy Vandergoat. When will you update the tutorial to install Alta Control on Docker?
Yeah, that's definitely something that's been on my list of to-dos for a little while. You know, when we did the video originally, it was from our beta program. So yeah, it would be nice to do a refresh of that, and we'll take a note and update that at some point soon.
Very good. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks, Jeremy. Next question from Bob Smith. WireGuard client, will we get policy-based routing?
So the firmware side of that comes with of multi-WAN actually comes with the policy-based routing support, which can also be used with WireGuard. So the actual configuration of those rules will not come immediately when the multi-WAN piece comes out, but it shouldn't be long after that. So yes, I think that is in the plans for sure.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the packages that we're using and integrating definitely have support for that at a low level. So it's just unlocking that through the UI.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. And thank you, Bob, for the question. Next question from SY1337 for me. IPS is not working. I have the Route 10 connected to another router where all my devices are connected to. It seems IPS only works with devices directly connected to the Route 10. That's more of a statement, but probably good to clarify that we do need to have everything connected through the Route 10, right? It can't just be an entry.
Yeah, that sounds like, yeah. So if you have devices on another switch, then they're talking on the same network, that traffic never makes it to your router. So in that case, any router-based IPS is not going to be able to do anything because that traffic just goes direct between the hosts.
Right. Great. Thanks, Chris, and thanks, user SY1337 on that one. Comment, and this is a general comment. Texpresso, I'd really appreciate an elevation importance of DPI and switches in Route 10. Can we share an updated timeframe on DPI?
I mean, it's still slated for first quarter of this year. Yeah, sorry we didn't mention it earlier on this call, but it's definitely something that we're looking into and have already started investigating. I believe it's already built into the firmware. It's just you know, putting the pieces together, doing the dot to enable that. There are some extra features though that will be available. So we're planning on having some extra filters. So right now with Wi-Fi, you can only do basically a static per site filter, right? So we'll have the ability to have multiple filters, and then you can apply filters based on, you know, VLAN or a client MAC address and things like that. So it'll be a lot more versatile than what we have on our current Wi-Fi solution. But we'll also bring some of those features to the access points as well that you know, people have been asking for.
Great. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks Texpresso for that one. Lots of comments about and excitement about site-to-site VPN clients. User DLD 410.75 is probably one of the louder ones on here, so great to hear. That's we're on target. Let's see. Lots of positive comments from Beard of Knowledge. Thank you very much. Yay for rack mounting. Yay. Very impressed to see the good performance on such performance from a tiny device in the Route 10. Thank you for your support. Let's see, just making sure I didn't miss any, flagging any here. Here we go. I did miss this one. Sorry, Bob. Question from Bob Smith. Firewall, are there plans to allow the users to find list of IP addresses, subnets, ports, And question 2, GeoIP country allow block.
Yes to both. Yeah, having group support in Firewall is definitely important. That's a missing piece that we need to take care of sooner than later. And similar for GeoIP, we'll integrate that in some method, probably directly in the Firewall rules, but then also maybe give you an easier way of configuring.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do GeoIP, whether that be through IDS, IPS, or through other, publicly available IP lists. But yeah, we definitely see it as a high priority issue that we want to get done, hopefully this first quarter as well. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, gentlemen. Next question looks like it's regarding the new 48 port switch we announced from user SY1337, dual hot swappable PSU.
So this generation of switch will not have a dual or hot swappable PSU. But what we've seen so far is, I mean, I can just talk about RMA numbers. We don't have a lot of RMAs. I have a lot of experience with other switches and switch vendors, and I totally get it. It's a big concern. I've seen a lot of PSUs die in my switches as well, but we haven't seen much PSU failure on our switches up until now, and don't plan on seeing that any time moving forward either. That doesn't mean it's not important. I think as we move on, I don't think we'll do something like that this year. Maybe in the years to come, we'll have something that can do a more advanced PSU solution. But at least for now, I can tell you that our PSUs have survived and done extremely well compared to what I've seen in the market so far.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. And thanks, user SY1337. The next one, this is more of a clarifying question. Looks like Mike took care of it for us, but from Sean Woods, did he say PoE plus or plus plus? I did say PoE plus on the on-wall AP, as well as PoE plus on the 48 port switch. So we are looking at PoE plus plus very closely on future products, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, we haven't seen as much market demand for the PoE plus plus, but we do realize that there are a bunch of, for example, PTZ cameras that use a lot of power. Some of those, are coming down in power and getting down into the range where they can be used with PoE plus. But for a lot of them that are existing out there, it's something that's important for some customers.
That's right. Great. Thanks, Jeff. Next question from Reginald Chan is the 48 port 2.5 gig, 10 gig. And I think if you're asking if all the ports are enabled there at 2.5 gig, the answer is, so 32 of the ports will be 1 gigabit, and then there'll be 16 that are 2.5 gig, and then there will be 4 SFP cages that are 10 gig. They're off to the right. Next question from user Bob Smith is the new AG switch L3 or L2?
So it'll have some L3 features like DHCP forwarding and things like that. There will be the switch chipset itself is very capable, but we haven't outlined what that looks like quite yet. But we will unlock those features on those switches. It's very similar to the chipset that's in our 24 port. And we've been trying to work with the community on maybe some low-level functions. And we open up the firmware. You can SSH into it. You can actually create configurations that persist through when you make changes in the configuration. So we'd like to foster a community of kind of harnessing the power that's in these chipsets, that features that aren't necessarily in the UI yet. But I know that there are plenty of L3 related features of the switch. I wouldn't call it full L3 by any means, but definitely some features that are available in anything that's an S24 or above. So the 48 port switch as well as the 12 port aggregation switch.
That's right. Great. Thanks, Jeff. Let's see. Keep going down. I think we may have touched this, but just in case we missed it, the ETA for our Wi-Fi 7 AP, we're trying to get that out first half of this year. If anything, by the middle of this year is probably more realistic. User Sean Woods, will it have active scanning radio? I'm assuming that's on the Wi-Fi 7 AP.
Yeah, so currently, if you've used Alta Labs access points, you can see that you can do scans and RF planning without bringing down the Wi-Fi network at all. We plan on doing the same thing moving forward. So it will use the existing radios, those 3 radios that are built into the product to do the scanning. Same thing though. When you do a scan, it'll do it using those existing radios. Won't take down the network at all. And so there won't be a need for a dedicated scanning radio on this product.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Good question from my friend Joe String, coming all the way from Canada. Ballpark pricing on Wi-Fi 7. What do you think, Jeff? You feel like we're close enough to be able to talk about pricing, or we need to hold off just a little bit more?
I think we're pretty close. I mean, we're planning for low 200s, somewhere around there. So yeah, definitely trying to disrupt the Wi-Fi 7 AP market as we have with all of our products. Very similar strategy there.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. And thanks for the question, Joe. This one comes from Robbie Bott. Any plans to have better product distribution, i.e. direct sales and Amazon? That's a good question. I'm happy to take this one. So we are a distribution only company globally, right? We have one of our founders, right? A name that you probably all have heard of, a guy by the name of Ben Moore. That's one of his kind of pillars, right? Pillars of success. We have some great master distributors globally, and we work with them to manage all aspects of our sales into the various countries. That is including retail and e-tail. Amazon, we also have select Amazon partners globally that are managing our presence inside of Amazon and future marketplaces like Newegg. We're looking at localized markets, right? And the marketplaces that are there. We do ourselves try to remain very highly involved in the Amazon marketplace because it's so easy to have margin erosion, especially when you have a product line like ours that has margin. And so we've stepped in and used our intellectual property rights via Amazon's transparency program, where we've been able to go in and basically clean it up, make sure everything's on brand, make sure the appropriate information is published in Amazon regarding all of our products. And so you will see us maintain a higher presence there and inside of Amazon just to make sure our products are always cast in the most accurate light. But again, generally, we try to use our distribution partners globally. And we have zero plans to have like our own e-commerce plan or e-commerce platform. So, Robbie, I would love to interface with you on that. I know our sales team would as well. If you feel like if you're in a country or where you just feel like it's really hard to get our products, we want to resolve that in any way, shape, form we can. Generally, we have really good distribution presence globally. But again, if you're seeing that's not the case, if you'll send an email to sales@alta.inc, and that's again sales SALES @alta.inc. We'd be happy to make sure whatever issues you're having procuring product are resolved. So, but great. I appreciate you bringing it up. Thanks, Robbie. User Daniel Denson, outdoor Wi-Fi 7 model.
I can take that. So yeah, we don't have a plan for an outdoor model this year necessarily. I do want to say one thing about our Wi-Fi 7 AP that I haven't said before, but we don't plan on having a fan on it either. So it will be a fanless Wi-Fi 7 indoor access point. As far as outdoor goes, Chase referenced the fact that a lot of countries just don't do 6 gigahertz at all. That's particularly the case with outdoor. So we're holding our pattern a little bit there for the moment, but not to say we won't do something next year, but probably not something this year that we'll release.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Ooh, I'm excited for this one. User Frank Borsic. Hopefully I pronounced that right, Frank. Question, Cake, when and FQ-Codel on Wi-Fi also when?
All right. Yeah, this is a great question, something that I'm very passionate about. I've been involved in latency discussions for quite a while, working with the experts in the field. So we are going to bring Cake to the Route10. I've already built it into the firmware. It's going to be available here soon. So as far as rate limiting on your WAN connection, that'll be available very soon. And we see that as a need in some markets and some ISPs that haven't quite figured out how to solve the latency problem on their own. I think it was about 2020 at the beginning of COVID, a lot of ISPs figured out how to improve their latency. And so since then, it hasn't been as much of a problem. Prior to that, it was absolutely necessary to either run CTO or some sort of traffic shaping on your internet connection. So we totally understand that. And so, yeah, I mean, there's still plenty of connections that need it today. And so that's why we want to support that in our Route 10. So I'll shift gears to Wi-Fi access points. That's another thing. It's kind of a can of worms. I mean, we've been working with Qualcomm. Even on a call with Qualcomm earlier this week, we told them we need CTO or something on their Wi-Fi chipsets. They actually did have it in one of their Wi-Fi chipsets previously. So I mean, we'll continue to work with them on building that into the hardware. I will say though that they do have some algorithms that actually work pretty well for rate limiting traffic over the Wi-Fi connection. And so while you can contrive a test that causes problems, the general consensus is, through normal use, you usually don't hit those problems over Wi-Fi. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for building something like CTO into the hardware long term. That's our goal.
That's great. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you, Frank, for that question. We promise we did not pay Frank for that question. That came out of the blue. So thank you very much for that. We'll jump into the next question right behind his. Steve Rosenberg. Is DOH, DOT, DNSCrypt support coming in Route 10?
It already exists and already is being used. Potentially, there's also no way to enforce that being the only option. So that is something that we want to add to. So if you strictly want to use DOH and not plain text DNS in any circumstance, that we could make it easy for you to do that.
Great. Thank you, sir. We've got a bunch more questions. I'm making sure I get ahead of us here a little bit. Thank you, Steve, for the question. Thank you, Chris, for the answer. Jumping to John Abrams. Looks like, I don't know if this will actually allow me to show both of these. Hopefully this pulls up one here. So John, any plans on offering a way to force reboot a switch over the app?
Yeah, we've heard this multiple times. We definitely want to bring that support to the mobile app. It is obviously already available. It's kind of hidden under a shift click on the web application. But yeah, we'll add the ability to the app as well.
Great, thank you. John, thank you for that question. That came over a little discombobulated. It looks like you may have had a second question there that may have been character limited. I will look through the feed and see if that you reposted that. But if not, and we missed that question, please resend the second half of that question. Linus B. Question: will you release documentation of what firewall rules that are default and shouldn't be deleted?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time I've heard someone requesting actual documentation, but it is something that's, it's no surprise that we use OpenWRT and we use a lot of their standard default firewall rules. And all of the ones that are built in right now that are available in the UI can be deleted safely, and you'll still be able to use your network. Yeah, I mean, longer term, we definitely want the ability to have more granular rules, and that'll give you the ability to shoot yourself in the foot while also giving you more power on your network. So yeah, I mean, the first rollout, we just want to make sure that it's a little bit more difficult to shoot yourself in the foot because there are so many options, right? And there's a lot of ways to break things, and so we wanted to limit that as much as possible. But yeah, longer term, we do want to do that. So I think we can publish our rules. I mean, they're pretty easy to find whenever you create a LAN or whenever you add a Route 10 to your network, it'll populate with the default rules. So you can even just, I think, create a new site and you'll see all those default rules right there. So if you want that, you can get it there. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea to put it in documentation somewhere.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Linus. Let's see. This one comes. Okay, looks like Eric is able to clean up his question. I'm going to bounce back to Eric. Last question: your thoughts on separated beta and production firmware update channels?
Yeah, so I mean that's a great question. It's something we've talked about internally recently. For me, it's all about statistics and overhead for doing such a program. So I mean, we've worked with some customers already on specific features and making sure that a specific feature works well before we push it out to everybody. But it's really all about making sure that when we release something, we want to make sure that the majority of the networks is still operational after the update, and we've held to that. There obviously are some hiccups here and there with some minorities that we've seen even recently this week, right? But we definitely, we have to focus on the networks, the most networks out there. And so, yeah, I mean, it's something that we're discussing. We don't have anything that we are ready to announce quite yet, but yeah, we're definitely considering it.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Eric. Next question from Texpresso. Is there a plan for allowing multi-zone firewall?
So it is a zone-based firewall as it stands. We're adding the zones and configuring them automatically, though. Yeah, I mean, at some point in the future, we may allow you to configure those zones so you can set up your rules the way that you would like them to be without. That would ease certain configuration scenarios. Yes. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Chris, and thank you, Texpresso. This is funny. The Bird of Knowledge. No more any rules. That's great. Next question, and I am sorry. I don't want to try and hurt that name of yours. But thank you for the question. Exciting updates. Looking forward to getting our hands on with what's upcoming products. Do you have an ETA on OpenVPN for Route 10?
So we're focusing on IPv2 and WireGuard because they are so much faster and the modern way forward. OpenVPN we haven't ruled out entirely. We may still add that at some point, but we're encouraging people to use the more modern, more secure, faster, easier to configure options that industry standard options that we have available.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we probably even put like something, for example, Tailscale ahead of OpenVPN at this moment. But yeah, it's just because of, like Chris said, the security, the speed, ease of use. A lot of these newer VPNs have all that.
Great. Thanks, gentlemen. And thank you for the question. Let's see. All right, next question, Linus B, follow up on my last, or will you perhaps make it non-removable rules instead? I'm assuming that's part of the...
yeah, this is part of the previous question. And I alluded to, showing rules that are there. We don't show any of those automatically built-in rules right now. But yeah, I mean, long-term, the plan would be to give you full power over all those rules, including the ones that you can really easily shoot yourself in the foot with.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Linus. Next question from Scott. Can the Route 10 be managed and a VLAN other than default VLAN 1?
Yes, it can be. So, for instance, I have a local control that's on a different VLAN from 1, and the Route 10 is managed by that. It'll use whichever interface is nearest to the controller that's managing it by the routing table. So if you're using the cloud, then it'll go out WAN. And if you have a local install, then it'll go out of whichever VLAN is closest to that by the routing table. So usually the same subnet.
Yeah, there's not like a management VLAN option, but that's intentional. I mean, you just put the controller on whatever VLAN you want to manage it from, and then, yeah, as long as they can communicate with each other, yeah, you can manage it.
Great. Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks, Scott, for the question. Next question from Poison ARP. How about NAT Scheduling Timeline?
As far as timeline, I mean, that might push into the second quarter, but yeah, definitely something that we want to build into our product as soon as we can.
Great. I see this is addressed further down in at least the YouTube comments. I think it all feeds in from YouTube, but just in case everybody missed it, please tell us the Wi-Fi 7 APs will be a 2.5 gig at a minimum LAN.
Oh, much better, 10 gig. Yeah, so it'll be the latest generation Qualcomm Phi for low power, highest compatibility. So yeah, we're expecting great things from the Ethernet connectivity on the Wi-Fi 7 AP.
Yep, that's great. Thank you for the question. Thank you, Jeff. VJ, unfortunately, we're going to hold off on the images. As I mentioned at the very beginning, things could always change a little bit, and we'd hate to break somebody's heart if they fall in love with a feature or a design aspect. So, but no, that'll be forthcoming. We'll share those as soon as we're comfortable. And Dale, thank you for correcting on the 10 gig comments there. So continuing on. User Sarenga Sachinta, I'm not going to try and pronounce the second part of those last names, so sorry Sarenga, but thank you for the question. How about scalability for different kind of user environments? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot we could dive into there.
Yeah.
But just know that, I mean, Alta Labs access points, switches, routers have all been for scalability. Everything from, I mean, even when you create an SSID, you know, you have to tell it how many devices are going to be on that network. So whether it's standard network type, which is obviously for, you know, just really small networks, home, small business, up to all of our network types actually can support hundreds or thousands of wireless devices on the same network automatically. And there's not really much configuration that you have to do there. Yeah, so, and then Route10 obviously is pretty hefty, has a lot of resources to be able to handle a lot of connections behind it. So, I mean, if there's something specifically that you want to dive into about our scalability, I would love to talk about that.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Sarenga. This is user DN. There were, just to clarify, we did not make any announcements regarding a smaller 8-port 2.5 gig switch. The only thing that we're announcing right now is a 48-port switch that will have some 2.5 gig Ethernet switches or switch ports. So, and user DEO, I think we maybe had him join a little bit late, but site-to-site VPN, we are on schedule for hopefully first quarter, right, Jeff and Chris?
Yeah.
Yes.
User Shringa, I think we touched on this earlier regarding our on-wall AP, but that is, we're hoping to have that out right at the very end of first quarter, more than likely very first month or so of Q2. But we will be, just watch our socials, watch our newsletter. We'll be announcing that as the time gets a little bit closer. User Tato from YouTube, any further parental control features?
Yeah, so I mean, nothing on the really immediate roadmap, but we do have, I mean, we recently launched the adult content filter on our Wi-Fi 7 access point or Wi-Fi access points. We will also have that, you know, available on the Route10 soon once we add DPI into the Route10. And then I don't know if you already know, but we have a really cool feature on our access points where you can enable scheduling of an SSID or even a PSK. So you have parents' PSK and you have a kid's PSK, and so the kids use the kid's PSK and it gets shut off at a certain time. And then you can actually enable an option to request more time so that the child then or your employee can ask for more time on that Wi-Fi network. It sends you a notification. It's a single simple click. You just tap on the link and you can approve it for another 15 minutes or 2 hours or whatever. So yeah, we do have some cool parental features already, but yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit. We are investigating those, but just don't have anything planned right now.
Great. Thanks, user Tato, and thank you, Jeff. Another question from Texpresso. So will the new Wi-Fi 7 AP be able to step down to the 2.5 gigabit per second on the 40-port switch then?
Yeah, no problems with that at all.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Texpresso. User Keith O'Shea, coming from overseas. Thanks for being here, Keith. SFPs from Alta. That is an interesting question, actually. Jeff and I have looked at that since we started Alta many years ago. We are continuing to monitor that. It's a very competitive market, obviously. There's not a lot of money to be made in SFP modules. Plus, there's a lot of companies that are doing SFP modules really well already. But we continue to monitor that and look for opportunities to come to market with, some really good solutions that not only work, are well priced, potentially have some margin there for our integration partners. So, anything, Jeff, you want to add there?
No, yeah, I mean, we'd love to do it, but yeah, like you said, it's a pretty tight market, and yeah, but hopefully someday we can do something.
Yep, great. Looks like we've got a couple of repeat questions on site-to-site VPN. Again, that's coming first quarter. Just in the interest of time, next question from user Todd Vasco: will you be coming to WISP America, and will there be anything new at the show? Todd, this year we will not be attending WISP America, but we will be attending WISPApalooza. Generally, whenever we have something close to launch, we do try and include it at all of our trade shows. We've opted to attend a number of MSP-based events here at the very first half of the year. Plus, we will be attending Integrate Systems Europe in more of a meeting capacity. We won't have any new products there, but as we look at attending shows over in India, as well as Communicasia, that are a little bit closer to the middle of the year, absolutely, there'll be some product there. The new products, you'll be able to touch it, feel it, and experience it. And then obviously everything we do from about the middle of the year forward, we'll highlight our products. So we'll also be attending an expo down in Mexico. So if you're tuning in from Mexico, we'll be supporting our master distributor there, Syscom. And the timing of that, March, April, we should absolutely have some demo units there. Hopefully you can come by and take a look at. So thank you, Todd, for that question. But we look forward to seeing you, hopefully, WISPApalooza in October. User Asus, I'm hoping I get that right. Any plans to launch patch cables and DAC cables? That's kind of it falls in line with the SFP question above. So we're looking at it, but no commitment as of yet. User Tato: ease of migration from cloud control to local controller and vice versa.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely something from our initial local controller launch that we've been planning to do. It probably won't be till second quarter this year, though. So yeah, we definitely want to support that better.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, user Tato. Let's go to Tato. User Linus B: will there be any local logs on Route 10 for the web UI so you don't have to fully rely on a syslog server?
That's a good question. I mean, it's something we thought about before. We do have a beta feature. I mean, it's not well known, but we have a terminal that you can actually click on the name of the device with a shift click, and it opens up a terminal, and you can look at the logs that way. So that if you didn't know about that, that's a really easy way to do it right now. But yeah, I mean, we may make something that's even simpler to be able to stream those logs from the Route 10 to your browser.
Very good. Thanks, Linus B, and thanks, Jeff. Welcome, Jason from Jason's Lab, coming in from Canada. Question: when are we going to be able to see WireGuard clients that are connected?
Yeah, hopefully this quarter we'll be able to add that feature. I agree, it's something you turn on a VPN and then there's no insights, but at least it works and it's fast. That's the first step. So yeah, we'd like to add some visibility into how much traffic is being run by every single client. Hopefully this quarter.
Great. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Jeff. Next question, scrolling down here from Ricard. Is there any way to configure the switches through CLI?
So yeah, I mean, you can enable an SSH key, and that's the only way that you can log into our devices, right, is by using an SSH key. For security reasons, we don't allow SSH passwords. But it is, all of our devices are basically full-blown Linux boxes, embedded systems. Now, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily fully supported or anything like that, but it's something kind of like what I alluded to before. We do like to foster a community of people who like to tinker with those low-level settings to be able to figure out new things, new applications for using our hardware. And so that's why we do make that available for those who kind of want to play with that.
Great. Thanks, Ricard, and thanks, Jeff, for that one. User J from YouTube, any plans for a desktop access point?
I'm guessing you're referring to one that is more cylindrical. I mean, we put plenty of our access points on desks as they are. So right now, I would just recommend that. But we don't have any plans to change the form factor into something more like the cylindrical AP right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, one thing I'd add is if you have not had a chance to look at our AP6 or AP6 Pro, we do also include rubber feet. So if you need to just place it on a shelf or a desk, that allows you to get the heatsink up and off the surface there. So thank you for the question, User J. Let's see. User Liu out of Canada, thank you for being here. I may have missed something, but how would you power the Wi-Fi 7 AP when connected 10 gigabits if there's no 10 gigabit per second PoE plus ports? Would it be possible to buy an AC adapter?
Yeah, so I mean, right now the current strategy, and this is a problem industry-wide, right, is there aren't a lot of good low-cost switches that can provide 10 gig plus PoE on the ports. So right now the current solution, if you actually wanted to do that, would be to use an injector or something like that connected to a 10 gig capable port. That does, add a lot of complexity, but it is possible. So, I mean, we're looking into it, and the reason why we're building a 10 gigabit PHY into the Wi-Fi 7 APs is for future-proofing it. So, once the day comes that we do have a 10 gig PoE capable switch, you'll be able to use it on that as well.
That's right. Thank you for the question. And Jeff, thank you for the answer. As Jeff mentioned too, we are looking at potentially some PoE injectors that are 10 gig capable that we may try and get out at the same time as the AP, but nothing committed to yet. We're just early stages of looking at it. So at that point, right, you could hang it off of the aggregation switch, or you could hang it off of the SFP plus cages that are on the 48 port switch and the 24 port switch. Okay, moving through the questions here. This question comes from Israel Cortez. Is Amazon distribution plan considering Mexico? So that's a good question. So I believe our Amazon presence in North America does extend into Mexico. Israel, if you're not seeing that, please send us an email, sales@alta.inc. And if you could provide some additional details there, we'd be happy to dive into that and make sure that is enabled and on. We will be looking at obviously supporting that as we grow a relationship with Syscom too down in that market. So some good feedback from Frank and on Cake and Codel. Looks like you guys met at WLPC in Prague, Jeff. So thanks for being here.
We did. Great to see you on the call.
Let's see. Next question. User Matt is being able to disable DHCP for a VLAN in the pipe and supporting other VPNs such as OpenVPN.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something we have it on our list of things to do. So hopefully this quarter we can add support for using a different DHCP server on a VLAN and things like that. And then OpenVPN, we already talked about, probably won't be till at least second quarter, but we do plan on adding support for that.
Great, thank you. Matt, for some reason, it looks like StreamYard also chopped off the second question there. Hopefully that updates. If we missed it, oh, hey, there it goes. The other part of that got cut off. So anyways, on to the next question. Thank you for that, by the way, Matt. Next question from Cody. Anything with SD-WAN?
Yeah, so I mean, nothing like real immediate in the first quarter, but we are definitely, like I mentioned, Tailscale. We'd like to offer support for Tailscale. And then we'd like to offer the ability to do, very, very simple site-to-site VPN with clients and servers automatically configuring each other with all your Route 10s. We don't have plans for like an SD-WAN proper service yet, but it's definitely something that we see a lot of opportunity there, and we've talked about a lot internally.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Cody. I think we touched on this once before. This came in the last 7 minutes. User DN Route10 DPI ETA.
Yeah, I mean that should be this first quarter.
Perfect. And Ludwig coming back here. Thank you for your patience regarding your name, and thank you for the compliments regarding our APs and the heatsink. The question is, was the design choice influenced by the current AP's temperatures or insights from your experience at previous companies? It's a good question.
I mean, honestly, as we designed the access point, we were made aware pretty quickly that there needed to be some sort of heat sink or some way to dissipate the heat better. And so a heat sink was added, and I just said, why don't we turn it into our logo as well and use those ridges for cooling. So yeah, I mean, we just wanted it to be cool and kind of make you smile every time you install an access point that you're installing an Alta Labs access point. And yeah, nobody's going to see it on the back, obviously, but it's there.
That's right. That's right. And too, with our background, right, especially, the 22 years or so that we bring to the table manufacturing experience, in manufacturing other electronic products, we know heat is like the #1 killer of electronics. So we definitely wanted to make sure we go above and beyond on getting rid of any sort of heat around chipsets. So just all kind of worked out really, really well and turned into a really cool product and really a good feeling product as well. So I think if you like that, I think you'll be really excited to see what we do with Wi-Fi 7 AP. So thank you again, Ludwig, for that. And thank you, Jeff. Some good feedback regarding smaller switches. Thank you for sharing that. Crusoe Tech and others. We'll definitely look at smaller desktop port switches. Let's see. Ooh, this is a really good question. User Daniel Svensson. Are you planning to enable AltaPass for WPA3 SSIDs?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we've been involved with standards bodies, IEEE, Wi-Fi Alliance from our inception. It's very obvious that WPA3 doesn't have any support for multiple passwords, and that's been something that a lot of the community has been feeling. So, I mean, if you look at a lot of MDUs, they'll roll out WPA2 on 2 gig and 5 gig everywhere with multi-password, and I think it's really hurting the 6 gigahertz. I think it's one of probably the biggest problems with that's prohibiting 6 gig adoption. And so it's something that we've been working with other people on. We're trying to work with even the Wi-Fi Alliance, going to conferences and just gathering people together. We actually have, we've made some inroads into working with people in the community, getting grants and getting some of these things sponsored so that we can actually fix the problem properly. And it's not going to be, it's not going to be solved in a way that just is a Band-Aid. It's going to be something that works for everybody, is patent-free, and operates on all devices, clients, stations, access points everywhere. And also, this feature is going to be a first-class feature built into the design of the protocol. So that's our plan. Obviously, these things take a long time to roll out. But I do think we'll get there, and we are talking to the right people to hopefully get there.
Great, thanks for that, Jeff, and thank you, Daniel, for that question. Maybe that's worth mentioning too, just the power of our community, right? If you know of a business owner, or MDU owner, or somebody who is currently using Wi-Fi 6 with PPSK or needs, something like AltaPass and the WPA3 deployment as that becomes more benevolent, we would love to hear from you. We are working with those governing bodies in a lobbying sense to help kind of move that forward, right? So please send us an email. Go ahead and send that to sales@alta.inc as well. And then we'll make sure you get plugged into myself, Jeff, Chris, the development team, and then we will take your use cases and make sure they get seen by those governing bodies to kind of throw weight behind our case. So it is definitely something we're passionate about, and we want to make sure we can get across the finish line. Next question from Bob Smith. Any plans for all-in-one, aka Wi-Fi router, something with Route10 built-in local control and Wi-Fi 6 or 7 Pro?
Yeah, I mean, it's something we've definitely considered for a while. we're kind of just focusing on the building blocks and making sure every component is specialized in that specific feature for now. I mean, definitely nothing that we would, release probably this year, but in the future, it's definitely something we would consider.
Yep, agreed. Thanks, Bob, for the question. Thanks, Jeff, for the answer. Next question from Jason Smith. As an owner-operator of a CI channel, I would love to see an Alta Labs certification education. Any thoughts on that? Jason, I hope I make your day by saying yes, absolutely, and we're actually working on it right now. We're generating video content. We're going to use some of our existing video content. We're in the process of building that out, and then we'll turn around and publish that just as soon as possible. We see education as a very valuable aspect of our lineup and of our program. It's one of the reasons we have developed such a healthy YouTube channel and tried to maintain that as long as we can. All of our configurations, programming, best practices tips are generally there on YouTube already, but we know that's not a great certification program. So we're going to pull on those assets and build them into more of a education platform where there'll actually be certifications, question and answers where, you can have your technical team log in and become certified on Alta Labs products. We'll have certificates, the whole gamut. So more to come on that in very short order. We're going to try and get that out here by the end of Q1, maybe even faster. So we will be sure to shout that from the rooftops as soon as it's available. Thank you for the question. Question from Dan C. I like the avatar there, Dan. Hi, how is Route10 compared to, let's say, Firewall? Is it the same or will it be the same? Does it have the same purpose?
Yeah, it is the same purpose. The feature set, we're still building ours out, but we have a lot of the same things and are adding more all the time. So yeah, it's the same use case for both products, generally speaking.
Yeah, I mean, what I will add, I do think we have a big focus on more scalability. So moving into larger networks, being able to debug things in real time. So we definitely have a focus on larger networks, but I mean, they are both routers, obviously, just with their different pros and cons. Yep.
Great. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for that. And thank you, Dan. I think that that concludes all the questions that are in my queue and everything that I see. So if your question did not get answered, please jump in and either send us an email or throw it up on our community forum. We'd love to make sure those questions get answered. We are also about 20 minutes overdue. So wanted to, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being an Alta Labs supporter. I'd also like to thank Jeff and Chris for being with us today. Just a couple of quick reminders on everything that I announced at the very beginning of the call. Again, if we've made some statements on our regarding some of the most recent findings in the news regarding security and some of our manufacturers, we've just developed a trust site you can go check out at alta.inc/trust. We've also published a statement on that. We would love to have you come take that look at that and let us know if you have any questions or concerns after reading that. We'd love to hear your feedback. We also have our contest right now going on in the story section of our community. If you have installed Alta Labs, if you're willing to come in and share at least 3 pictures, you will be eligible to win some free Alta Labs gear here at the end of January. And again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for your support. Pay attention to our newsletter, social media. We'll be doing another Alta Labs Live with a live Q&A as always come February. Anything else, Jeff and Chris, before we sign off?
No, definitely appreciate everybody attending. Thank you so much for your support.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Bye.